I was a school teacher for 16 years, and I woke up one day, realized I hated children. Then I went to an equally abusive industry and chose health insurance because everyone loves health insurance, and quickly climbed up the corporate ladder only to realize I was halfway up the wrong ladder. And I watched a late night infomercial for fortune builders. We went to a 3-day event, and by the end, I was like, take my money. It was very expensive, but I'm so grateful I did it because I feel like education is so important because you can make so many mistakes in this industry. So that's a great way to be with someone who's already made those mistakes so you don't have to.
Welcome to the Aim High podcast. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Aim High podcast. I'm Bud Evans. I'm joined today by my work wife, Jen Josey, who is fantastic. Jen and I worked together for about a year. She is a very seasoned investor. I'm very excited to have her share with you some of the things that she started with and where she's currently going. How are you doing, Jen?
Good. I did just recover from COVID, so I have some COVID fog still going on. So words escape me sometimes. So please forgive me if this is and I mean, I am drinking, of course, but
of course
it is, we're hanging out. So
over 40 in the afternoon and it is adult time. Absolutely.
Yes.
So I promise I won't ask you anything about the Pythagorean theorem. We won't talk about sine, cosine, or tangent.
Perfect.
Outstanding. Okay. So Jen, do me a favor. Give me a quick intro. Let me know how you started.
I was a school teacher for 16 years, and I woke up one day, realized I hated children. Then I went to an equally abusive industry and chose health insurance because everyone loves health insurance, and quickly climbed up the corporate ladder only to realize I was halfway up the wrong ladder. And I watched a late night infomercial for this company you may have heard of. Am I allowed to say the name?
Yeah, go ahead, because we're both a part of the same organization.
Okay. Late night infomercial for fortune builders. We went to a 3-day event, and by the end, I was like, take my money. It was very expensive, but I'm so grateful I did it because I feel like education is so important because you can make so many mistakes in this industry. So that's a great way to be with someone who's already made those mistakes so you don't have to.
Absolutely. And you're awesome because the amount of education that they gave you and then the amount of education that you've done personally brought you to where you are now, teaching everything that you know to other people.
Correct.
Tell me a bit about that.
What, talk about my coaching?
Yeah, tell me what you're doing.
I am coaching with you at Homeschooled by Tariq El Moussa. He did the show Flipper Flop, and he's doing a new show coming out next year. But I got involved with him through our dear friend, Rob McIntosh, that I hung out with on the beach of Jamaica at a mastermind. And the rest is history. He said, Jen's got this great personality. So I was actually coach number 3. I thought I was coach number 2, but I was coach number 3 behind Rob and Cheryl. So I love it. I love being able to sit in the privacy of my own home or take my laptop wherever and still do coaching calls. I love putting my former teacher hat back on and teaching on something that I love, love, love.
Great. So let's talk about how you started and what was your first deal?
So my very first deal I found on Craigslist, if you can believe it. And I was actually at a Fortune Builders event. It was the immersions. Do you remember the immersions? So
yeah.
Fortune Builders would bring a coach to your area and get all the local people together and do walkthroughs of properties and teach you how to evaluate properties. So this was, we were the realtor person to pick the properties for it, making the story way too long. Anyway, I was sitting there with some coaches in the area. Terry Thayer was one of them. And this guy was calling, and Terry just finally said to me, he's like, that's so cheap, just get it under contract. So, and back then everyone would say, everything's negotiable, everything's negotiable. So it was in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, which is about an hour and 15 minutes from me. It was 4,200 square foot historic home built in 1910, gorgeous. And he wanted like 50,000 for it. So I have the buzz in my ear. Everything is negotiable. Everything is negotiable. So I said to him, I go, well, is that price negotiable? And he's like, sure, what's your price? And I was like, well, shit, am I allowed to curse?
Yeah, that's fine. It's all, yeah, we're all adults here.
I'm like, shit, I didn't think ahead, like what number? So I was like, and I literally just picked my high school basketball number, which was 44. So I'm like, 44,000. He's like, sure. I was like, okay, thanks. And hung up. I'm like, oh my God, we got our first property under contract. And we would go out there, and turns out it was a very low socioeconomic area at the time. It's growing now, but we couldn't find contractors to go out there. So we literally just put lipstick on it and listed it. We bought it for 44,000. We sold it for 67,000 a couple months later, and what's called wholetailing, meaning it wasn't a wholesale deal because we owned it, but it was a retail property, so wholetailing.
Right.
And that was it. So nothing very exciting, but I mean, I found it on Craigslist, paid 44,000 for 4,200 square feet. Nuts. We paid a neighbor $30 to mow the lawn. We scraped some of the paint inside, and we changed out a thermostat. So
that was it.
We put about $250 into it.
Oh,
so,
fantastic.
So it was nice to have a little money up front. So that was my first deal.
Oh, that's awesome. So what are you currently working on?
Great question. I'm trying to be like Bud. I want to get into commercial real estate, multifamily, 5 units or more. I am a big believer in education. So I'm part of the Legacy family, which is Tim Bratz. I'll give a little shout out to him. He does an amazing event, Commercial Empire is what it's called. And then you join the Legacy family, you pay a certain amount per month. And he has 3 events through the year. So I just got back from Nashville. But anyway, through that education program, I actually got our first 12 units through I did a direct mail campaign. This person, I was so nervous. First of all, I still don't understand, the whole financing for when you get to these 450 units, multi-million, all that stuff. And so we figure we'll start small. So I'm talking to the lender or the seller, and I said, well, we're coming up with $300,000. This is a 12 unit. They're tiny. They're 450 square feet. It's in a rinky-dinky little town. Well, it's not rinky-dinky. It's actually a really cute town. It's called Gretna, Virginia. And this gentleman, he said, well, are you going to be doing any terms? I was like, terms, because now I'm learning all the creative financing for multifamily. I'm working on that, trying to get better at it. And I'm like, well, no, we're going to buy it with cash. He goes, oh, well, then I'll take 250.
Sweet.
So I got 12 units for 250,000 in Gretna, Virginia. It's very under market rent. So we found, and where I feel so much better now is, and I think you're the one who suggested I do this, is find a good property manager. Mm-hmm. We found this chick, she kicks ass. Love her. She's very, very cool, and nothing scares her. So I felt much better, and we're working on bringing up those market rents. So, awesome. So that's it.
That's fantastic. Yeah. How much are you putting in? I know you got it for 250, right? Rents were under market. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but what do you see as your stabilization? How much you think you're going to be pulling out per month out of a 12 unit?
So we're going to currently the rents are 300, but some pay only 175. There's one person that's lived there over 2 decades. So I know there's a lot there. It's a total shit show. So we're thinking conservatively 2,500 a month profit on this one. So it's a baby steps. We're starting. We have an Airbnb that's going to be making a lot more than that, but still
that's okay. Right. Because look, you get this thing stabilized, you increase the rents, you increase the income, your net operating income goes up, your cap rate maybe goes down a little bit. And the next thing you know, you've got an asset that's worth a lot more than it was when you bought it.
So another cool thing about this property is the guy was holding on to it because there is a health building, some type of health center next door, and they already bought one of the properties and flattened it. This is the next one in line. So he was just kind of holding on to it for a while. So we really could get a really high payout in about a year or two.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good for you. You know what?
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Appreciate it. I'm looking at this dot and I feel like I'm looking too far up. Where are my eyeballs? Anyway, I'm just gonna look at your face.
You look fine. You're doing great. You're well experienced. You have your own podcast, very popular, by the way. Look at you.
Here it is.
Yeah. We'll make sure that we get a link to that in the comments. Okay. And make sure that, we get some people that are listening to me that also listen to you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. So what's on the horizon?
More mailbox money.
Nice. Good for you.
I want to get out of single family home flips.
You're not going to get an argument out of me. I'm the bird guy, right? So.
And I was telling you briefly, we have a squatter at one of our properties. It's a very nice gentleman. And I took him over some breakfast this morning. I said, hey, but you're just, enjoy your breakfast, but I need you to leave. You can't stay here anymore. And contractors, the cost of things, I'm just burned out. I'm sick of my nails breaking all the time. So not that I do any of the work.
Now, this is a learning experience for all of us, right? What's the one thing that you learned as your wealth increased?
Great question. It is so important to see who you surround yourself with and choose wisely. I can't tell you, when we were first getting started and friends that I held on to for way too long, and, oh, Jen, you're never going to succeed at that. You're going to quit your perfectly fine corporate America job. And I can't believe you're doing this. And I had to get rid of that toxicity, really just focusing and making sure that I'm surrounding myself with people who are only going to lift me up. I don't want to be the smartest person. I want to make sure that, we have other people who we kind of reach back down and pull up to join us. But I just think that has been the biggest lesson, is to really focus on that circle of people, your inner circle, which Absolutely. You are part of, clearly.
Thank you very much. I don't know why you're hanging out with me, but hey, I'm glad to be on board. That's fantastic. All right. So we're going to go into the soaring four, the same 4 questions that I ask every guest that can help someone starting out to achieve heights. Okay. Aim high. It's an Air Force thing. The soaring 4. Here we go. All right. What do you currently use to keep you motivated?
It has to be, again, back to that, who I surround myself with. I'm a big believer in education. So I pay for proximity. I went to Jamaica a second trip recently where there's 250 other real estate investors, and just hanging out at the pool. There's obviously speakers and, events going on, but getting those connections. And I'm a part of a mastermind. I just am constantly striving to make myself better and paying for proximity. People freak out over price tags for, I just paid $5,000 to David Richter for his Simple CFO because our finances are kind of all over the place and we're transitioning to rentals. So I want it done right. And $5,000, people would freak out, but he has the tools to get me to where I need to be. So I'm a big believer in that. And, if you have to pay a little extra, be in the room with smart people, it's absolutely worth it. Because if I didn't do it and I'd be a year from now, I'd be in the same place.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to avoid that. We're trying to stop the stagnation and always move forward.
Correct.
Great point.
Huge.
So what is the one thing that you believe that completely changed your mindset?
So I recently read the book, Who Not How. And it was the right time and the right place for me to read that book. Everything I do now, I'm right here making folders for 4 Airbnbs that are going to go live next week. And so I'm spent most of today going online, finding restaurants nearby that I like, and then typing in, how far it is from our Airbnb. There's a who out there that can do it so much better than I can. This was a huge, now I'm saying this, but I am working on it. And one thing for me where I applied the who, not how, is weight loss. I met someone recently at an event in downtown Raleigh, and turns out she's my neighbor. And I said, you're going to be my who. She is a coach for a weight loss program. And I've lost 33 pounds in 4 months. So she was one I kind of put my talons in her. And it was right when I finished the book. I'm like, you're going to be my who to lose weight, and that's what you need. So the who, not how, knowing that I don't have to do everything like today. And I'm just, now everything is so obvious to me of, I've got to pass this on. I can be using my time. It's much more valuable elsewhere.
Agree. Absolutely. That's one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me, was hiring an executive assistant and having that person take.
I'm super jealous. What's his name?
Ron.
Ron. I want a Ron in my life so bad.
Everybody needs Ron. He's fantastic. Personally, if I were to give some advice, it would be start there with the executive assistant, get all that stuff off your plate, and then have the executive assistant start picking those people out that would, hey, I need you to do this for $5 an hour. Put together a folder of all of the restaurants around this address, and this address. It's great.
Perfect. Yes.
Yeah, right. That's the next thing. What do you use to keep you on track?
I'm still kind of old school. Like, I can't do anything if it's not in my Google Calendar. Like, it just, everything goes through my Google Calendar, even reminders, things to buy, etc. We just literally right before this call opened another Google chat in the Google Spaces for our coaching group. And yes, thank you, Bud, for doing that. It's just, everything stays organized in there, and it goes through your phone. Anyway, Google Drive, everything Google. Love it. I
don't work for Google, but I play a guy on TV. I don't know, whatever. Right? Not even a quarter of a beer and I'm already loopy. So it's just one of those things. What's the one thing, if you had to start all over again, what's the one thing that you would change?
I would start with rentals sooner. Our very first rental was an Airbnb. And I say Airbnb because it literally it's a short-term rental, but we only ran it through Airbnb. And man, that was a cash cow. It was a great situation. And we haven't bought another one since then. I mean, we're about to open 4 more. Where I am right now may turn into an Airbnb unless we sell it. If we can get some money quick, we'll do that. But it's just I wish I would have started sooner with the rentals and having that cash producing asset. So I'm not dependent on flips that maybe we're about to get into a phase where it's going to be longer days on market. And so, gone are the days that you get multiple offers within the first 30 seconds. And so it's back to reality with that. You can't depend on it for constant income. So having rentals, and even between short-term rentals and long-term rentals, I wish I would have started it sooner, just to have that basis and more money that I know is going to be there. Like consistent money coming in per month. Even though it's smaller, your flips are going to make a lot more cash at once, but it can be far and few between. And it, sleepless nights, no fun. So that's what I would have started sooner.
Beautiful. Jen, thanks a lot. I appreciate taking your time. As always, you are fantastic.
You are fantastic.
I appreciate that.
I couldn't pick a better work husband, I'm telling you.
Right? I appreciate
and I get to hang out with you in a week and a half.
Jen, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, what would be the best way to do that?
You can find me at therealjenjosey.com, and it's JEN1NJOSEY. And I have my podcast on there. You can get the links there. I am hilarious on Facebook if you want to follow me. And I do motivational posts every morning. It's honestly part of my morning routine, but people get a kick out of them. So check me out.
Thank you very much. And I'll link that in the description as well.
Awesome.
And on the YouTube channel, it will be in the comments. So you are fully aware of the fact that we're, not only are you and I involved in the Homeschooled by Tarek community, I'm also part of the South Jersey Real Estate Investment Network, South Jersey Real Estate Investment Association, Fortune Builders, Flip Side Up with JJ out of Los Angeles.
And we have a huge event coming up in January.
We do. It's probably going to be more of a hybrid than it will be in person. All of the coaches will be getting together, and then we will be putting out information. That's going to be January 13th, 14th, and 15th. Yet to be determined on the location. However, we will be coming to your laptop soon.
Perfect. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Hey, thanks, Jen. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Bud. You're the man.
Hey, just a reminder. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you want some more real estate and finance related videos, you can check out our other videos right here. And as always, Aim high.